Christchurch's red zone has been off limits for housing since 2011, since the earthquakes. However, that could all be about to change. Claire Sherwood, Newstalk ZB South Island News Director, with us this morning. Claire, good morning. Why might that be about to change, finally?
Finally, yeah, as you know, 600 hectares make up the Christchurch red zone. I was a reporter at the time. I remember the anguish that went in. It took several months for that area of Christchurch, or several areas of Christchurch, to be considered red zoned land, which meant that it was not deemed safe to build on. Keeping in mind, at that time when the decision was made, the land underneath us was very much still moving. We were still going through thousands of aftershocks per week when that call was made. In recent times, our newsroom has noted that more and more decisions have been made around leasing some sections of the red zone. There's a pocket of land way out east, for example, of Christchurch City that's being leased to a social housing provider. They're going to build sort of 10 or 12 temporary portable homes on there, specifically to house some of our homeless men. They are often the one that is hardest hit by a lack of housing, and families, of course, get first access to emergency housing. We also know there's a section of land just last week that was leased to the Sumner Tennis Club. That's a pocket of land that was housing right up until the quakes. So the question now is whether it's time for us to properly look at an assessment of Christchurch's red zone and consider housing. The Mayor, Phil Major, has gone a step further than that and said we already have a whole lot of land, something like 34 hectares of the red zone, which is zoned and ready to go for trial housing, edge housing, and so on. He's saying now's the time that we consider leasing that or gifting it to some housing providers and start looking at ways to get housing back into the areas where it is safe to do so. Of course, this comes as the conversation around density in Christchurch is dragged on. We have the conversation about, affordability and urban sprawl, people having to move so far out of the city and travel in every day for work. So it may well be a solution to several problems. 15 years on from the quake, the Mayor certainly says now's the time for us to start moving, and he'd like to see housing there ASAP.
All right, and just finally before we go, Claire, passenger rail, finally will it be making a return to the South Island?
Well, so we're hearing. We talked last week about the fact that the Events Express train service was going to be returning to Christchurch. Council's in high-level talks with the providers of establishing a service which would bring about 5,000 people into events at the new stadium from the likes of Rolleston and Rangiora. We now know that the mainlander is coming back. So this is the train service which connects Christchurch with the likes of Invercargill and Dunedin. They're going to start that from mid-January. It will only be sort of once or twice a week initially and will eventually ramp up if it's successful and is going well. It certainly may help the likes of Dunedin when they have events at the stadium and there's not enough accommodation to allow everyone to go down there for those events if they still get them with our new stadium. So it will be a game changer and will be something that is pushing forward from early next year.
Claire, thank you. Claire Sherwood, our Newstalk ZB South Island News Director, with us live this morning. It is